there.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Fire Up Wisconsin. You wouldn't know by smoking Jeremy that he's not wearing the Green Bay Packers colors, but that's okay. He's a pro and he's around our network and comes on a lot of different shows. So whatever his dress code is, it is what it is. So I just want to welcome everybody to the crew here tonight. Candy, South Florida Tribune, obviously from Menominee Falls. Welcome back, Candy.
Thanks, Scott. Great to be on here.
And doing a double header tonight is Smoking Jeremy B, right? Smoking?
Always up and ready.
Yeah, you are, aren't you? Okay. And last but not least, the guy with the shortest name on the show, Eric Katz, totaling all of 8 letters. And yes, I can count it up to 8. Welcome back, Eric.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, so give you an overview of what we're talking about tonight. Primarily, we're looking at the Milwaukee Brewers and the Milwaukee Bucks. Boy,
Yes,
we take the word, keep it simple, stupid, and we make sure we echo those thoughts here. But Candy, before we go any further, why don't you let everybody know the information about us?
So, if you like our shows, please hit the red subscribe button in the lower right corner and then share it and like it to all your friends so everybody gets the benefit of seeing all of our great shows. We have something on our network for everybody, whether you're a baseball fan, a football fan, you are a fan of Michigan, Wisconsin, for Florida. We do it all. We do Sports Exchange, which covers everything. So like it, share it, tell everybody about it. If you like to listen to podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, Google, Apple, Spotify, we're there. Like it, share it as well. You can also see us on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. If you want to be on the show, email us some topics and maybe we'll invite you on www or at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you very much, Candy. There you go. There's ways to get on the show, participate. We have our website, and we have a lot of going. So let's talk some Wisconsin sports. We're going to lead off, appropriate baseball term, right? And so will this be the final year for Corbin Burns out in Milwaukee? All right, Eric.
I really believe it will be. I mean, I just wrote about this. It's obviously arbitration. The team goes ahead and just reportedly blames it on him for them not making the postseason when this team has just offensive issues galore up and down that lineup. It also doesn't help that Christian Yelich, who's supposed to be that number 3 hitter that they're paying the big money to, is more like a classic leadoff hitter now. I think that Burns has accomplished a lot in just 2 years. He's gone to 2 All-Star games. He has a Cy Young Award to his name. He had a pretty nice encore season to that Cy Young Award, although not as dominant, but still can't go wrong. Can't duplicate what you did the season before sometimes. But I really think it could be the end. The Brewers are definitely going to lose him. It's just the fact of being a small market team, and it doesn't help that the relationship has kind of gone south. I really think that the Brewers are going to be looking to replenish their farm system a little bit with some hitters. I know that they need some help on the infield, especially with the volatileness of second and third base. And they definitely need the young prospects in there in order for them to potentially have a chance to reopen a contending window, because right now that window has slowly been closing.
All right, Candy.
So they were fighting over $749,000.
Yeah.
He wanted $10,750,000. They were willing to pay him $10,100,000. That's it. We're talking a Cy Young Award winner, a great pitcher. Honestly, the Brewers are making some questionable moves. Honestly, I mean, let's start with the Hader trade last year, and everybody keeps talking about it, I know, but it made such an impact with all the rest of the team that they felt that they lost part of a family. The one thing I will say about Craig Counsell's team is that he makes everybody seem like such a family oriented, that everybody's there. They're welcome there. They want them there. They want to be part of the family. And when you took such a big part of the family and moved him, you demoralized part of that clubhouse. And it shows in the numbers because they sank. I mean, they were up in the lead last year and they sank and they didn't make the playoffs. And then you're going to go and talk about your best pitcher and you're going to fight over $749,000 and you're going to blame not making the postseason on him when if you look at the batting average of the whole team, they couldn't hit anything. So I'm sorry. As much as I love my Brewers, they have made some bad decisions when it came to these two pitchers in particular.
All right, Jeremy.
Well, Corbin, he's been great. 35-19 record, 3.21 ERA, 670 strikeouts. He was the strikeout leader last year. The year before, he was the ERA leader. What else can you say? The guy deserved his money. They've hobbled over $750,000, and in baseball, that's nothing. Seeing how they don't have a salary cap. They'll have a luxury tax. Oh, we're going to have to pay another $20,000 more in revenue because we're overpaying him by a couple $100,000 over the luxury tax. I don't get it.
Yeah, when I'm with all the $750,000, not pay this guy, really? What kind of a
wait? Let's get exact there. 759. She said. 49. Okay.
Well, I gave him a little bit of money. Don't worry about it. But still, compared to that number, but nevertheless, to me, you're going to show your fan base a commitment that you want to win. That's a bad way of doing it. It just really is. I know that Craig Counsell is the most underrated manager in baseball. He's making a lot out of nothing. If he ever left the Brewers, I guarantee you, he wouldn't. He would get so many phone calls that it would burn off a battery is what it would. So, the Brewers do got to get it cleaned up. They really do. I mean, I know that they draw a lot of people over at Miller Park, and so they're one of the best baseball towns out there. But seriously, that kind of money with your ace pitcher, you know how hard it is to go ahead and develop first line pitchers? It's very difficult to do. They don't grow on trees. I mean, and this guy here, the amount of money he's so paltry. I think what was the last time they made it to the World Series? Was it
82?
82. Well, I mean, my goodness, it's been over.
Was it Robin Yount or was it Raleigh Fingers that was the MVP of the World Series that year?
They did not win it that year. The Cardinals did in 7.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Raleigh Fingers was on that team as well as Cecil Cooper, and I believe Paul Molitor was there along with Robin Yount. Which I think
they haven't won the World Series since '82. My goodness. Okay, they had a couple good playoff runs during the Stearns Counsell era, but to shortchange your age.
They had a couple of good runs with Gardenhire too, but they never really quite got to the end of the dance.
And Ron Renicky too.
Yeah, right. So I
People
don't know,
but the one thing I wanted to add, you're talking about a pitcher that has a MLB record that he's tied with the likes of Tom Seaver and Aaron Nola, and it's most consecutive strikeouts in a game at 10.
I think the Brewers, with this, the Brewers need to take a page out of the Mets playbook. What happens when you anger an ace pitcher? They saw this what happened with Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver, Tom Terrific, one of the greatest pitchers of all time. The Mets angered him over money, to the point where Tom Seaver was basically yelled, "Get me out of here right now," and thus the Midnight Massacre happened. They, the same could be said with the Brewers because Corbin Burnes is the best pitcher they've had in a really long time. Probably you could probably argue he's better than Ben Sheets because he's obviously sure enough been able to be more healthier than Sheets ever could. But you got a guy who can lead your rotation for years to come. And you need an ace pitcher in this day and age in order to have a chance at going to the World Series. That the only team that's really who's perfected not really having that per se is the Tampa Bay Rays, but that's a new stratosphere of thinking there on their end with the smart people that work in that front office. but which I don't believe the Brewers have that kind of brain power there. I just think that it was a $750K difference, which in baseball terms that's kind of petty, and the fact that they don't want to pay this guy shows you that maybe they're not committed to winning after all. Maybe they're just okay. We got you to the playoffs. Okay, if we go to the NLCS, great, but really, if Craig Counsell, obviously one of the better field managers in the game, every time he leads a team to the playoffs, he's in the running for manager of the year, which, as you said, Scott, if they were to fire him, he'd have a job tomorrow. The phone, as soon as people find out he's free, I can guarantee you that his agent will be flooded with requests for interviews. But I think that, it makes me question whether the Brewers really want to win or not. I'm starting to question that they're not really, it's not really there, that they're just saying that because it's the media and, everything gets seen nowadays.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say in closing the subject is your numbers are what they are. You have good attendance now. How long will that continue if they see that there's a lack of commitment? Nobody wants to be on the 90 million year rebuilding project and not see the finish line. And then being a small market, we know that the Bally's TV deal is about to go bankrupt anyway, so who knows what's going to happen there. That'll be for another night. But still.
And Scott, how much is Mark Antanasio willing to spend? I mean, he says one thing, but what is the true meaning of how much he's willing to spend and how much leeway he's giving the GM?
Well, that's true. I mean, it all starts at the top. It really, really does. You committed a lot of money to Yelich, great. Committed into at least one of those situations where, I just feel that it all comes down to ownership. It really, really, really does. And how much you're willing to spend. And fan bases, media, they're going to be critical of you regardless of how big the market really is. So the Brewers have to decide what Brewers team you want. The one that's going to contend year in and year out, or the one that's going to be treading back to rebuilding. And we'll stay on the Brewers, okay, as we talk about the expectations for young Brewers outfielder Garrett Mitchell. All right, Eric.
He had a really nice small sample size for the 28 games he was in the show last year. With how productive players are measured nowadays, he had an 832 OPS in 28 games. That's, for 28 games, that's stupid high. I mean, even if you were playing more than that, 832 is still stupid high. I think that he's a better offensive version than Lorenzo Cain. Cain had his moments offensively, but defensively, he was the guy out there. But I think he's a nice replacement for Cain. He gives the Brewers some pop in that lineup. He's got speed, and he's shown that he has some power. I mean, he's been able to come up with some clutch moments. I really think that this guy, I'm expecting big things from him because this is an offense that just is in need of a jump. They've needed a jump since probably 2020.
Okay. All right. What about you, Candy?
Mitchell, he was taken in round 1 in the 2020 draft, 20th pick. He made 61 at-bats last season with the Brewers, hitting .311, on-base percentage .832. He's got speed. He's already hit 2 home runs in one of the games the other day in spring training. There's only upside with him. I don't see any downside. So I'm excited to see where he goes this year and how well he does and where he fits in.
I think he could be a nice top of the lineup bat with his speed. He's certainly shown he can get on. The guys, with the shift being restricted and stuff like that, and also with the pitch clock, I think stolen bases will now come back into the game, and that's going to bode well for him because he does have the speed.
Well, and I think with his home run hitting ability, I think putting him in front of or behind Yelich might take a little pressure off Yelich, which might improve his stats because he went into such a slump. But let's face it, the pitchers could pitch to him however they wanted because there wasn't a lot of big bats around him to take away some of that.
Right. It wasn't like when Yelich had the Ryan Braun protection, and then they were expecting him to be that guy. Well, the Brewers' I think David Stearns' big mistake there was not giving Christian Yelich protection, because we saw what he was doing in Miami. He had Giancarlo Stanton hanging around there along with a bunch of other big bats, and we saw how good he could be. But they were expecting him to just carry the load when the rest of the lineup seems to like to get into a collective slump for months and months at a time.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it. Your better hitters have to have protection around you on both ends of your spot. Evidently, we'll see whether that plays out for Yelich with Garrett Mitchell. Anything you want to add to this, Jeremy?
Well, with a 311 batting average, he should be at the 1 or 2 position automatically, because you want those guys to be the guys that are consistent and constantly getting on base. That's all I got.
No, that's fine. All right, final topic of the night. The Bucks have a 14-game win streak. Candy and I watched the actual 2 last Bucks games. I will say one thing. I enjoyed watching Huey Brown on the national telecast, but Dave Ash and Cassie Howard did a good job. Huey Brown's unbelievable. So I'm glad Huey was on those telecasts. They clobbered the Miami Heat by 29, and then they eked out a very tough contest against the Phoenix Suns without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Of course, Phoenix was missing Kevin Durant. He hadn't made his debut. So, all right, Eric, give me your perspective of the Milwaukee Bucks. I know Brook Lopez had a great game as well. Rue Holiday, I think, had 33 points. So, go ahead, Eric.
Well, with the Bucks, they've had various points in the year where they haven't had Giannis, and it's still been business like usual there. They do a good job playing like they do. They play a lot of team basketball. It's not just built around one guy. It's not like a Laker offense that's pretty much centers around LeBron James, or even in the Celtics case where the shot's going to be taken by Jason Tatum. It's like they were still, even though they didn't have Kevin Durant, the Suns still had Chris Paul out there. Which Chris Paul is still, he's not nearly the all-star he once was, but he's still a solid. He's still proven to be a solid, serviceable point guard. They still had some good players out there, so it's not like the Suns were coming in with their load management guys. I think they were pretty much playing the starters they had mostly before pre Kevin Durant. But, Devin Booker's still out there. We all saw Devin Booker. Devin Booker can go off. I mean, once the guy's hitting, when he gets hot, he gets hot. But, they still, it also helps that they traded. A great move they made was trading for Jay Crowder, which that's been a godsend for them. And, there's a reason they've won 14 in a row because of the type of basketball they play. It's not centered around one guy. Yeah, it's Giannis is the star of the show per se. But, when Giannis isn't there, they have other guys they can go to. Holiday has proven to be has become a terrific scorer since coming to Milwaukee. I think Brook Lopez is finally starting to get his offensive act together after having a slow start. But overall, the Bucks just play good team basketball, and that's what you have to do in order to win in the NBA. It can't be centered around one guy. For example, the Bulls figured that out after Doug Collins left, when Doug Collins would just have when Michael Jordan would be the only one touching the ball essentially and scoring all the points. Then you bring in and then they would bring in someone like Phil Jackson where everybody touches the ball and boom, you have 2 different three-peats.
Right, and also I should point out the Suns had DeAndre Ayton, who's one of the most underrated players I think in basketball. Candy.
Oh.
So what I'm going to say is the Milwaukee Bucks are playing great team basketball. And yes, they did not have Giannis. I think a healthy Brook Lopez has really helped. I think a healthy Drew Holiday. I think we underestimate what Brook Lopez has been doing for the Bucks. When they played the Miami Heat, I remember at some point they said 10 different Bucks had hit a 3-pointer. They were hitting 3-pointer. They were dropping 3-pointers like there was no tomorrow. I mean, they were hitting them at 41%, whereas the Heat only hit them at 22%. That makes a big difference when you're talking. You put up 46, so you made 19 threes to Miami's 9. The other thing I'm gonna say, and this hasn't always been the case, but their free throw shooting has been much improved. That makes a big difference down the stretch because if you're making the free throws, they might be a little less apt to foul you as opposed to, oh, you know what, we'll foul them because they're not very good at the free throw line, so we'll take our chances. Now, with that being said, there was a questionable call at the end of the game that they didn't foul when they were up by 3. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a wrong game we're talking. But the Bucks and the Suns, we watched that game. I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of the Bucks games, but it was refreshing to see how they do move the ball around a lot. They look for who's got the open shot. It's not a me. Oh, I'll dribble down the floor and I'll take the shot. They pass it around to get the open guy. They also know kind of who's hot, and then they'll try and feed that hotness. I was noticing that Middleton had a streak there where he was hitting them all, so they're feeding the hot player at the time. Smart basketball, and I hope they continue.
Jeremy?
They're playing some of the best basketball in the league right now, and we have to also consider Chris Middleton's been healthier than he's been over the last 2 seasons, and that's a big contributor. When he's playing well, the whole team plays well. I don't know what it is about him, and he's a good 3-point shooter as well. There's something about when he's on the floor, it makes a difference with the Bucks, whether Giannis is there or not. That guy is a decent defender for the perimeter, and he does really well at dropping that 3, and he gets to the line because of it. He can feint and do a little step back 3 and draw a foul. It's a good play.
Yeah, I'm happy that Jay Crowder's back in Milwaukee, played for Marquette University, so he's playing in his hometown. But judging by the way the Milwaukee Bucks are playing, and I've said this all season, so I'm not jumping on a bandwagon. This team can easily win another world championship. I wouldn't bet against them. 14-game winning streak. They're playing well at the right time. Crowder gels, and when Giannis does get healthy, watch out. This team is awfully good. So I'm not going against them at all. I think they, and don't underestimate Mike Budenholzer as a head coach either. He's done a really, really good job since he's taken over. And I got to tell you, one of his assistants, Quinn Snyder, actually has been hired for the Atlanta Hawks job. And he's actually going to coach in his first game there as well, probably, I believe, tomorrow. So let me go over some particulars about the show, then we'll have parting shots. I do want to point out that Fire Up Wisconsin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. So please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. And so go ahead, hit that like and share button out there and tell your friends and family and all about it. So we are striving for 1,000 subscribers. Want to be a guest? No problem. Send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Now we'll bring on our parting shots. And you know what, Jeremy? You can lead off with the parting shots.
Yeah, Wisconsin sports have been in a decent place, mostly due to the success of the Packers, the Bucks lately, and the Brewers are on the come up. If they can actually get it together, who knows? Maybe they'll do something this season. Let's look forward to a good season here in 2023.
All right, Eric.
Well, happy baseball season's back. I mean, spring training games are rolling underway, and sooner or later we're gonna have opening day. And, fortunately for me, I'm actually heading out to the second home game of the season for the Brewers when they take on the New York Mets, or as I like to call them as a Yankee fan, New York Junior.
New York Junior, that's funny. All right, Candy.
So, Marquette basketball wasn't supposed to win the Big East. Mm-hmm. Tyler Kolek wasn't projected to be a candidate for Big East Player of the Year. Yet here we are. Marquette has clinched at least a tie of the Big East Championship. They are ranked number 6 in the AP poll, which is the first time they've been that high since the 1977-78 team. Way to go, Marquette. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you dance till your hearts go lower. I'm so proud of all what you've accomplished. Tyler Kolek, he's a sophomore. Good job, Tyler. I can't wait to watch March Madness and see more of them.
Okay. Well, I have a parting shot much different than all of you. Now, today I read something that First Takes Molly Karen made some idiotic comments about Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers for a darkness retreat in Oregon. You know what? I keep bringing up ESPN recently for all the wrong reasons. But lately I've been watching them anyways because they really blew it with the Chuck Hughes thing when Herman Epworth didn't think that there was nobody that ever passed away on the field till he forgot that Chuck Hughes with the Lions played the game. But back to Molly. You know, she does a decent job trying to corral Stephen A. Smith as much as she possibly can. But Molly, okay. You don't know anything about meditation. You really don't. And all I can tell you is I would probably, I hate to say deceased, but maybe a little bit without it. It clears my mind. So whether you're playing an electronic game, listening to music, driving, which I have the luxury of doing on the ocean here in South Florida, meditation to me, folks, does the mind wonders. And my biggest decisions are made with meditation. The reason why I pause there is, you know what? Meditation's good for psychology, just to ease your mind. And Molly, if I were you, I would go out there and try it once in a while. You might think a lot different, okay, to me, than to be able to call out Rodgers. Let me tell you, well, Aaron Rodgers is a heck of a quarterback. We don't know what's going to come of his leadership, his little retreat out there. But so what? Let the guy clear his mind. The Packers aren't rushing him at all at the moment. They just like to know a few answers to me. And by the time the draft hits, free agency. So get out of there, Molly. As they always say on some of your ESPN platforms, just shut up, Molly. Learn about meditation. You just might like it. Anybody else have a response to that?
Oh boy, First Take died after Skip Bayless left.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, it may have died, but you know what? It stayed just as unintelligent because Skip Bayless, he does not have the most intelligent takes. He just does it more flamboyantly.
Well, that's not true. That's not true, Jeremy.
I just don't like the guy. I think he's an idiot.
Well, there are some takes. There are some takes that he makes that are a little out there, but there are other takes he makes. Like, for example, the one that was out there for all the wrong reasons was what happened on that Monday Night Football game, where he decided to kind of do it at the worst time possible. But other times, I agree with a lot of what Skip Bayless has said. And it's what made the show entertaining because him and Stephen A. Smith are essentially the same person, very, very loud. But, now, like all of ESPN in recent years, it's kind of fallen by the wayside, and obviously, Fox Sports 1 has certainly taken advantage of that.
Yeah, we have an interesting comment in the chat room from Bobby Shane. I'm going to give all of you or one of you an opportunity to respond to this one. Who wants to take it?
I'll read it. If the relationship fails, don't blame only her. It takes two people to mess up a relationship. Blame her and her mother. Huh. You know why? Because her mother raised her.
Well, here's the thing.
That's all I got to say.
That's a very interesting way to put it, I will say.
Yeah, Bobby, I appreciate you putting it out there. I always like to put interesting comments, and you certainly got it there. Candy, what's your take on that?
We keep talking about Rodgers' retreat. What difference does it make what he does after the end of the season to take time to heal his body? We're not talking about what Patrick Mahomes is doing besides going to Disney because they won the Super Bowl. Like, what's he doing now? Leave the guys alone. Let them take their time and do what they need to. You're just trying to drum up drama. And we all talk about how much drama Aaron is and this and that. But who drums up that drama? Did he come out and was he saying, "Oh, I'm doing this and this and this and this and this and this"? He was asked what he was going to do, when he was going to make so then he told what he was going to do, and now we're all making fun of it and talking about it.
It is kind of funny. I'm sorry.
It's become entertaining than a lot of TV shows on Entertainment Channel, I will say.
Yeah, the one thing I don't want to lose sight of is this. For a while, I did watch these shows, and they're not bad. But the problem is I'm sick and tired of the repetition and dwelling on a particular subject for 15, 30 minutes, an hour at a time, and then redoing it. Let's get real, folks. We know what journalism really is, okay? Go out there and research good, solid content. Make yourself as versatile as you can and not rely on one or two things and create a repetition on certain things. And you know what? Aaron Rodgers, to me, has earned the right to meditate about what his next move is. Hey, listen, he knows he's got $60 million coming to him. So, where's he going to collect that money? I don't know. And it's not any of my business. But Molly Karam, to me, like a lot of that First Take crew, they need to shut up, especially when it comes to this stuff.
We could start talking about J.J. Watt, the Wisconsin native, who has retired from the NFL, but yet they're still asking him to do drug testing. Really?
It's because he hasn't filed his paperwork yet. That's the only reason why.
Yep.
I mean, do we go out of our way here to come up with stupid stuff to talk about? I don't like to, but when I saw this thing here, and again, I'll reiterate one last time, okay? Meditation has been a big part of my life. Candy knows, right? How many times I make important decisions on those long cross-country drives? How many times have I taken rides up A1A? How many times have I listened to music or play, an electronic game? Whatever makes your mind comfortable and more at ease, you do it.
Some people work out. Some people listen to music. Everybody's got a release. You have to have a release. In today's day and age, you have to deal with society and everything like that. So, you know what, Aaron? Go for it. I'm glad you did what you needed to do. And we're just waiting for your response.
Well, don't be surprised if there aren't a lot of players that are meditating more. It just so happens she brought up his, but there's a lot of players that are meditating in their own manner.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers just gets brought up because he's a superstar, and Aaron Rodgers has certainly made a lot of waves recently, right or wrong. I'll let you be the judge on what's happening in Green Bay. I mean, I don't know. Let the guy be. Training camp, the draft hasn't even happened yet. The combine hasn't happened yet, and training camp is not going to open until July. So we'll have something probably sometime during the spring.
Yeah, I think so. Well, you have the draft and free agency. I think the Packers are asking him if he could at least try to figure it out by then. But we're still in February 27th yet? Please, Molly, one last time. Meditation's a good thing. You ought to try it, however you decide to do it. And then you might retract some of these statements.
I kind of got to get out of here, Scott.
Okay, well, then you kind of have to let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Well, of course, you can find me on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel at any time, because Scott may just throw me in because he likes to do that. And I do all right. Then again, you can also find me on Kneecap Biting with Smoking Jeremy B. I have 2 shows a week, every other Wednesday and every Friday. You can also find me on the SouthFloridaTribune.com channel, .com page, as one of his editorialists and consultants.
All right, Jeremy, thanks for being on twice tonight. We'll see you Wednesday night. All righty?
All righty. Bye-bye.
Right. Have a good evening. All right. Eric, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
You can find me on my Twitter at Sports Team News, or you can find me on my blog at bellyupsports.com, where I'm writing about all things baseball.
Candy, wrap it up.
So you can find me here on Fire Up Wisconsin. You can also find me on Sideline Sports Chicks and Salsa Tuesday nights at 7:30. You can always catch any of our YouTube shows. Monday night, it's always Fire Up Michigan. Every other week, it's Fire Up Wisconsin. Tuesday nights are typically 108 Stitches baseball talk. Wednesday nights are Sports Exchange. Thursday nights are typically every other week will be Inside the Pigskin, and you might see another Fire Up show. You can always go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can email us any show ideas and maybe get on one of these broadcasts at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google, Apple, or wherever you get them. But most importantly, if you could please subscribe, hit that red button, be our 1,000th subscriber on our YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. And you can always, Twitter handle is at Tribune South. We have a Facebook page, South Florida Tribune. Like us, share us, tell all your friends about us. Scott, your turn.
All right. Well, I want to thank Bobby Shane for his contributions in the chat room. He certainly brought up a point that was worth everybody talking about. But meanwhile, this concludes this edition of Fire Up Wisconsin. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back in about 2-3 weeks for another episode. But meanwhile, we had a doubleheader tonight on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. We started up with Fire Up Michigan and wrapped it up with Wisconsin. And we have a lot of good shows for the rest of the week and going forward. So on behalf of Smoking Jeremy B., Candy Ebling of the South Florida Tribune, and Eric Katz, my name is Scott Morganroth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Fire Up Wisconsin, and we will catch you all the next time. God bless and have yourself a great week. Bye-bye now.